When in a crisis, what they most afraid of was not seeing the slightest hope of surviving. Now, after listening to Xianxia, both Kai and Du Cixi are overjoyed, because if Xianxia is right, then with the power of 3 people, it may not be impossible to kill the puppet. When the 2 people swept the haze on their faces and looked at each other, they became full of energy. Without further ado, the 3 acted immediately. Because of Xianxia's previous attempts, everyone knew the puppet's warning range. At a distance beyond 10 feet, Kai and Du Cixi stood at the corner and kept taking out the cloth from their space rings. Setting up formation using item equipment, Saint Yuan penetrated into it and spilled around. As soon as the item equipments fell to the ground, they disappeared without a trace. Even with Xianxia's spiritual mind, they could not be detected. The 2 skillfully arranged their formations, but Xianxia's eyes lingered in the vital positions of the giant puppet's head, chest, and abdomen. These positions were where he felt the spirit that drove the puppets into actions. It was just that he had faced the puppet all by himself just now, and he couldn't take a closer look at it, nor could he determine exactly where it was. If it can be determined, as long as the location is destroyed, it should be possible to stop the puppet from moving. Xianxia pondered secretly, constantly pondering his thoughts, and felt that there was no problem. In a few moments, Kai and Du Cixi are ready to look at each other, their palms are folded together, and suddenly shout together, "Hey!" At the next moment, the Saint Yuan within them seemed to have some resonance and contact with some things in the surroundings, and burst out with the encouragement of the Saint Yuan. With the puppet as the center, the world's spiritual energy within a dozen feet radius trembled slightly. Soon it returned to normal. Xianxia opened his eyes and didn't see the slightest anomaly, but it is not something unusual. Many formations, even if they were turned on, couldn't see anything different from the outside. Only by going deep inside can they get a glimpse. "Brother Yang, Cixi and I are ready. You can do it at any time," Kai shouted. Xianxia nodded his head slightly, and said solemnly, "There will be works for the 2. Brother Yang is polite. This battle is mainly up to you. Be careful. I and Cixi can only preside over the formation and use the power of the formation to match your actions. Don't you take the opportunity to run away." Du Cixi's expression changed a few times. There are still some worry and uneasiness about Xianxia. If Xianxia fled the place while they were restraining the speed of the puppet with the formation method, then she and Kai will look like someone who made a wedding dress only for other people to use. Faced with her doubts, Xianxia did not mean to be angry. The other party was not familiar with him. There will naturally be this level of concern, and now, the 3 must work together. Any disagreement and conflict may lead to some unimaginable consequences. The words are lightly said, "Relax. Since I have joined hands with you, I will naturally not ignore you." With the promise of Xianxia, Du Cixi smiled and said, "I will talk about it casually." Xianxia said no more, took a deep breath, and looked at the huge puppet that had stood still without movement. His face suddenly became dignified and serious, and his figure swayed, and he rushed over there. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the large array arranged by Kai and Du Cixi, and the field of vision in front of him changed slowly. Xianxia suddenly found that he was in a position as if he were on a lake, and the lake was clear. The water is turbulent, but from the lake there is an invisible force that seems to be trying to bind him. Not only that, another force of squeezing came from all directions, which also limited his freedom. The lake illusion at the foot is the effect created by the lake mirror clay dragon formation that Kai said before, and the invisible squeezing force around it should be the painting earth prison formation arranged by Du Cixi. Sure enough, there are some ways. The 2 major formations did not deliberately target him, but when he fell into it himself, he were repressed. If they drove the formation to deal with him, the repression would only be greater. At the end of his thoughts, Xianxia's mouth was filled with a smile. For him, the power of Kai and Du Cixi's formation was naturally the greater it is the better. The greater the power, the more chance they have to contain the puppet action. At the same time, when he stepped into the formation, Kai and Du Cixi's formation law expert changed hands and entered a Saint Yuan into the formation at the base. At the next moment, Xianxia's sense of restraint and squeezing force disappeared and his freedom was restored. There are two formation law experts who preside the Lake Mirror Clay Dragon formation and Painting Earth Prison formation, naturally will not let Xianxia also be affected. Xianxia took another step forward, and stepped on that mirror lake. A circle of ripples spread around the bottom of his foot, and at the same time, the huge puppet that had not been moving suddenly flashed red in its eyes, big mouth open. And a beam of red light sprayed out of the mouth and struck straight to Xianxia. Xianxia is not shocked when his foots move. He soon disappeared. When he was testing the puppet ability before, he had seen the opponent perform this trick many times, and naturally he would not be easily hit. With a loud bang, the red energy beam of light hit the mirror lake, but only splashed the larger ripples, which did not affect Lake Mirror Clay Dragon formation, which made Xianxia happy. Go. Yang began to shout in a low voice, and the fiery bird item spirit appeared immediately, turned into a fiery red bird with a length of 10 feet, and rushed towards the giant puppet. The dark giant stick in the puppet's hand immediately rose and hit the item spirit fiercely. Wherever the giant stick passed, it brought a sound of wind, the power as big like a landslide and tsunami, making people suddenly change color. With a swipe of the drag giant stick, the body of the item spirit collapsed immediately, but the body of the item spirit was not an physical entity, and such an attack would not affect it at all. The scattered firelight gathered together again, a burst of wriggling changes, and once again formed the shape of a firebird. At the next moment, item spirit's mouth opened, and a fireball larger than the basin was sprayed out of the mouth and with rumbling imposing manner struck the puppet with astonishment. A violent noise came out, and the puppet was staggered by these fireballs, and the huge body leaned back slightly. After taking such a blow, the puppet seemed to be irritated. The red light in its eyes was even worse, staring at the firebird with a death stare, waving the giant stick in its hand, and fighting with the firebird. In an instant, there were countless stick figures, and the beam of crimson energy and the scorching fireball flew all over the sky. These two are all diverse existence, but at the moment, some of them are not incomprehensible, and the item spirit are not afraid of the other's dark giant sticks, but it is a little afraid of the red energy beam of light. Once the puppet releases this attack, it will have to dodge, waiting for an opportunity to fight back. Xianxia was overjoyed. When he was experimenting, item spirit was also vigorous. He did not expect that the puppet was quite resentful. At this moment, it did not care about him, only targeting and chasing the item spirit. Looking at the opportunity, a golden thread popped out of his hand, and he shot straight toward the puppet's left eye. With a bang, although the indestructible gold thread hit the opponent's left eye accurately, there was only a flash of fire, and the golden thread was bounced back. Xianxia frowned slightly. At this moment, a whisper came from his ears, "Brother Yang, be careful." As soon as the words fell, Xianxia saw the puppet waving the giant stick and smashed it down towards himself. The murderous intention of the giant stick almost made the whole space solidified. Xianxia's eyes narrowed, and when he was about to dodge, he suddenly found that the mirror lake at his feet actually had strange energy fluctuations. Immediately, the clear mirror lake was suddenly muddled as if it was muddled by something. In a moment, a few turbid lakes rolled up, turned into a dragon shape, and greeted the giant stick. And at the same time, there was a little light all around, just like a firefly flying. The number was very small at the beginning, but it was everywhere in the blink of an eye, such as locusts crossing the border. These lights were all simultaneously pouncing to the stick, sticking to it like a foot maggot. To the naked eye, the speed of the giant stick's waving actually slowed down a lot. The mud dragon rushing out of the mirror lake touched the giant stick and was broken up directly, but it also weakened the strength of the giant stick. Seeing this, Xianxia was happy. In the scene just now, it is clear that the two major formations have played a role here. The evaluation of the Lake Mirror Clay Dragon formation and the Painting Earth Prison formation is 1 point higher, and the confidence in killing the puppet is stronger. As long as Kai and Du Cece truly cooperate with him, the chance of leaving this place will increase greatly. The giant stick still waved, but with the restraint of the two major formations, Xianxia had already calmly avoided it, and his spiritual mind moved. The spirit firebird had turned into a blaze of fire, wrapped the puppet all over the body, and burned it hard. Xianxia does not expect the item spirit to burn the puppet. This puppet does not know what material it is made of. The water and fire do not invade, the sword and the gun do not enter, and it is very strong. Even though the item spirit refines a trace of the power of the real fire of the sun, relying on its firepower to melt it is also not enough. Xianxia just wanted to rely on the special form of the item spirit to find the place where the essence of the puppet was hiding. Item spirit is burning it, but the huge puppet was not affected at all. Instead, after it lost its attention on the item spirit, it immediately stared at Xianxia, striding forward, and walked towards Xianxia. Just 2 steps away, Mirror Lake suddenly produced a huge vortex which just caught one of its big feet, and the puppet's body tilted, obviously looking like it was falling down. Seeing this, Xianxia would not miss a good opportunity. He stretched out his hand and shot a palm. Saint Yuan burst out and covered the heavens and rushed under the puppet hood. It could be said that Xianxia's 2 formations helped Xianxia a lot. Before he tried the ability of puppets, he was often surrounded by dangers, but now, with the cooperation of 3 people, working against this puppet again, it's easy to handle, there is not too much burden at all. In this case, he only needs to avoid the puppet's attack, and at the same time divide the message sent by the hardened item spirit. As long as he finds the hiding place of the spirit clone, he can attack the position desperately and break it. To be continued.